What is art? What are its meaning and purpose? Today, there are many answers to these questions. Sometimes they are different and controversial. For example, you have probably heard that art is highly subjective and difficult to comprehend. But is this true? Let's figure it out. Art, as you know, has its history. It is constantly changing, following the course of the evolution of society. Observing these changes, we can find the necessary answers to put many things together. We will find out where we are now and look at the world of art differently. In the next 30 minutes, we will be able to consider a part of an intricate pattern, the name of which is the world's fine art. First of all, let's give some basic definitions. It will help us to draw a clear map of art's development. What do we mean when we talk about evolution? We know that evolution is development. It is continuous change in time, a transformation from small and simple beginnings to more complex forms. In other words, evolution is a path from simple to complex, and usually more perfect. Time to define the concept of art. Let's approach it from afar. The big picture is seen from a distance. What do we mean by saying martial art, musical art, or dance art? As you can see, art means perfected human activity or true craftsmanship. A master achieves it through the constant development of specific skills. In this case, fine art is images that someone masterfully created to get close to perfect. For each stage of human evolution, art was different. In each period, it reached only a step in its quest for perfection. The human consciousness drives it. It is looking for answers to the questions of the surrounding world and striving for the ideal. Nature was the source of this process and allowed humans to observe and learn. Why was art created? In the beginning, people could use drawings for learning, memorizing, performing rituals, and establishing order. They found a way to capture the surrounding world and share their knowledge. Historically, these are the first functions of art. To appreciate this importance, imagine that humans never transferred their knowledge from generation to generation. In this case, the evolution of primitive society to the origin of the first civilizations seems impossible. The art of the first civilizations gained a scale. Now it has acquired a new important feature and has become a cultural value. Society, achieving its identity, culture, could create its ideals. Humanity got the opportunity to pass its heritage by expressing itself through some perfect symbolic forms. We see how the colors, techniques, and plots became more complicated and diverse with time. Humans learned more about the nature around them and reflected it in art while improving their skills. The diversity of arts in a particular society gives us an idea of its development, achievements, and wealth. Art has assumed other essential functions, aesthetic and social. Each of them was able to answer the question, why was it created? What is the purpose of its existence? With aesthetic function, we get acquainted with the tastes of society, its idea of beauty, and its place in culture. The social function arose from the formation of a political system. Rulers used art to establish order. When it was necessary to raise an army, art became its banner. Take a look at the preserved fragments of the culture of ancient states. We see majestic palaces and pyramids decorated with stories about the order of civilization, its issues, tasks, and important events that concerned people of their time. Whether it's harvesting, military campaigns, religion, or questions of procreation, all artifacts found to tell their own story. From these stories, modern people make up a vision of the past. art becomes a mirror of generations. Looking into it, we form a memory of them. In the times that rock paintings can tell us about, a human took the first step in creating fine art. The earliest traces of it are stone carvings that look like an ornament, somewhat younger rock paintings. In their drawings, primitive people spoke a simple and symbolic language. To do this, they used natural paints. These were earth pigments like ochre and charcoal. Brushes were made from collected animal hair or replaced by fingers. Looking at the prints of the hands of primitive people, we can see the prototype of the future of art. It is an expression of identity that will evolve over time. The picture unfolding before us is grandiose, but we moved far enough to see as much as possible. Painting of ancient Egypt mainly served as an explanation of the afterlife, in which the Egyptians showed great interest. Artists created images very carefully, using a grid that was previously applied to the surface for painting. They developed a canon, model that every artist followed. It was required to depict each part of the body so that it may look its best. The head, arms and legs always showed in profile, and the eyes, shoulders and chest were in full face. The silhouette was often outlined, which complemented its integrity. Limestone, soot, copper and iron ore were used as paints. The Egyptians painted on the walls of temples and papyri. Painters of ancient Egypt did not seek to convey a portrait resemblance, but considered it necessary to show social status. The attributes of the pharaoh, warrior, scribe and peasant have appeared. In addition, the significance of the figures was emphasized by their scale. The pharaoh was always taller than his wife or warriors, and the figurines of servants were made very small. The fine arts demonstrated the hierarchy of society. An example is the glorious buildings and their interior decor, emphasizing the superiority of extraterrestrial powers and pharaohs. Ancient Greece is the birthplace of democracy, theatre, and philosophy. It was here that many symbols of Western culture, such as the Olympic Games, were born. The art of ancient Greece was the most precise reflection of society. The wisdom of the Greek philosophers gave us the essential concepts: mimesis, aesthetics, catharsis, and the criterion of truth. They have become tools in the world's knowledge and its man-made mirror, art. Initially, ancient Greek artists knew only 5 colors: black, white, yellow, red, and blue. Nevertheless, they could create vivid images that struck with high skill of execution. In the 14th century BC in ancient Greece, the cradle of European art, the first few schools of painting had already formed. Both painters, sculptors, and masters who united these areas worked in them. It is because sculpture also begins with the drawing. A few examples of ancient Greek paintings have come down to us, mainly wall frescoes. But thanks to their rich literary heritage, we know that the Greeks loved painting and were very refined in it. They sought to observe and thoroughly study the human body. The result of this was the treatise Canon, which explains ideas about body proportions. Later, they were portrayed by Leonardo da Vinci. Ancient Greeks began using chiaroscuro by mixing colors and achieving the picture's tonality. Thanks to this discovery, figures in painting gained volume, As we know, they used wax paints or egg tempera. The ancient Roman Empire is known for its expansiveness and power. It shows in its enormous contribution to architecture, engineering, and world art. The art of ancient Rome finds its origins in Greek and Egyptian styles. At the same time, it has a unique appearance. The artists knew how to create realistic and aesthetically pleasing sculptures. The main object of fine art was, again, a human. However, if the Greeks were looking for an ideal, then the Roman sculptors and artists created images of specific people who made the state's history with all their unique features. Romans' love for realism was not limited to sculpture and portraits. Look at their murals and mosaics. The murals' subjects are diverse, scenes from everyday life, mythology, still lives, and landscapes. They differ by chiaroscuro, a harmony of colours, composition simplicity, and lines elegance. The custom of painting interiors was adopted by the Romans from the Greeks. Later, they developed a technique for painting on fresh plaster, in udu. That means on wet. Animal glue and egg white were widely used as a binder for paints. After drying, the surface of the fresco was covered with melted wax. The art of ancient Rome served the integrity of the imperial system. Man, as a citizen of the empire, and his pleasures had an essential role in it. In the Middle Ages, European art was dependent on religion, and this could not change it. It was the time of the Gothic, chivalry, and the Crusades. Religion has become a powerful tool for the ideological unification of peoples. The painting was helpful as it impacted those who could not read. Art explained the essence of things and dictated what rules one should live by and what one should avoid. It taught a person faith through visual images and symbolism, but did not strive for perfection. The church's ministers preserved and passed on from generation to generation valuable art objects, from books to paintings. As a result, the monks became the leading creators of art, icons, book illustrations, and literary texts. Egg tempera as a paint gave paintings the illusion of soft daylight, yet an almost flat appearance. Egg tempera remained the primary colour until oil replaced it in the 16th century. The Renaissance followed the centuries-old religious education of European society. It is known for its intellectual and artistic flourishing, the manifestation of the ideas of humanism, and the discovery of new lands by Christopher Columbus. This period was a time of prosperity and innovation, the age of genius. Artists moved away from the formal traditions of the Middle Ages. Paintings differ by using linear perspective and concern for a truthful interpretation of reality. Thus, the technique of applying paints became more sophisticated. For example, the light-dark effect, known to us as chiaroscuro, made it possible to create an apparent volume of the image. Interest in the natural world and the importance of empirical observations is awakening. The Renaissance marked changes not only in art, but also in science. These two areas complement each other. Leonardo da Vinci, for example, made sketches for observations of the sky and the discoveries of Galileo. Likewise, artists studied the structure of the human body in anatomical classes, and doctors used their drawings for further work. Art again became a reflection of the time, its problems, and most importantly, its values and achievements. Following the Renaissance came the period of art evolution of the 17th century, uniting Baroque, Rococo, Mannerism, Classicism, Realism, and Romanticism. Taking all the best from the Renaissance, art acquired the freedom to interpret reality. The former connection with religion noticeably weakened. This time is the triumph of luxury and sophistication in art. The plots were full of vitality, colourfulness, and aesthetic naturalness. In painting, landscape and portrait became independent genres, which were especially fond of aristocrats. Still lifes and images of animals spread. Artists found many original solutions in composition, choice of colour, texture, and lighting. Painting fully realised its potential. It demonstrates both the most joyful and romantic, and humorous, unsightly sides of a person's life. This time was the golden mean between achieving freedom and pursuing excellence. As you know, beginning from the 18th century, civil revolutions swept Europe. By the end of the 19th century, art had become the litmus test of the mood of the time. The denial and destruction of former cultural values came to the fore, the oblivion of former standards. The era of modernism has begun. It begins with the opening of the Salon of the Rejected in Paris. It included works of artists who were not accepted to participate in the official Paris Salon. The term modernism appeared, and groups of artists proclaimed their manifestos. Modernism and the artistic movements that arose with it, Fauvism, Expressionism, Cubism, Futurism, promoted art in its radical forms. The complexity of execution and aesthetics no longer played meaning. The word concept summed up under the image has gained the leading role. The successor of modernism has become contemporary art. Despite the name, this phenomenon refers to the last century's extravagance. The desire for knowledge and the search for an ideal allowed art to find a different path of developing. It reflects the critical scientific, cultural, and technological achievements of society, its evolution. A notable trend was born with innovations in everyday life and liberation, primarily spiritual, the painting of the pre-Raphaelites. These artists moved away from blind imitation of the classics and ventured to create something new while not ignoring the achievements of past generations. The name pre-Raphaelites meant spiritual kinship with the artists of the early Renaissance, that are, artists before Raphael. The movement's first step was the foundation of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood in England. It began with an attempt to update painting and subsequently greatly influenced the changes in literature and the whole English culture. The artworks of the pre-Raphaelites had little popularity among ordinary people due to their refined aristocracy and contemplation. Nevertheless, this movement plays an essential role in our story. We will find out what it is a little bit later. We can determine the era of painting creation by looking at the complexity of its execution, the context, and the tools one has used to create it. Thus, it is unlikely that we say that the rock drawings belongs to the epoch of the Renaissance. So, what was the art of the period of scientific and technological progress? The world received more and more new inventions that changed people's lives. The steam turbine, the automobile, aircraft, wireless telegraphy, the incandescent lamp. These are just a tiny part of the most important inventions of this time. So artists, thanks to new technologies, have received new tools for creating visual art. But first, these were photographic and filming devices. Photography and cinema were the 20th century's newest inventions in visual art. Thanks to that invention, humanity obtained new ways of self-expression that would have been impossible without the intellectual development of society. Think about how many photos and videos you look through every day. Learning the history of cinema and photography is interesting because the changes in these fields started to occur much faster. A little known but fascinating fact: camera obscura, the camera prototype, was not invented in the 19th century or even in our era. Mentions of this device are found as early as the 5th century BC. At that time, it looked like a darkened room with a hole for light penetration in one of the walls. Then, there were large boxes with a system of mirrors to deflect light. They allowed painters to capture the reflections of objects and perspectives as accurately as possible. Leonardo da Vinci described the camera obscura in detail in his treatise on painting. Some artists used it to draw from nature to create landscapes, portraits, and everyday sketches. How many paintings known to us were created with its help? We can only guess. French inventor Joseph Niepce took the first known photographs in 1826. He used camera obscura to produce an image on a bitumen plate by exposing it to light for at least 8 hours. The result is one of the most significant photographs in history, named View from the Window at Le Gras. Photography developed rapidly over the next few decades, but it was in 1839 that society recognized it as a technological discovery. It happened when Louis Daguerre invented the daguerreotype process, the first commercially viable photographic technique. Long after that, in 1888, George Eastman invented the Kodak camera, making photography much more effortless. Like brushes and paints, a camera is a creative tool, which means that in the hands of the artist, it becomes a way to create an object of art. The pictorialism movement was a critical stage on the path to today's fine art photography. To make a pictorial photograph, innovators used an approach similar to painting. The creators wanted more than just a photo print. They supplemented photos with special effects to make them look like pictures. At the same time, composition played the most crucial role as it was in painting. The similarity of such photographs with paintings contributed to their appearance in museum halls and galleries. Pictorial photography was recognized as an art form. In 1869, English photographer Henry Pete Robinson published a book called The Pictorial Effect in Photography. Robinson believed that photographers should use the same methods as Renaissance artists, which meant turning to nature and striving to discover its artistic beginning. At the same time, photographers implement the effect of chiaroscuro, tonality for volume, which we remember from the Renaissance. Pictorialism gained popularity through brand new photographic magazines, the most important of which was Camera Work. Early pictorial photography had an orientation toward two main traditions: academic painting and the works of the Pre-Raphaelites, who are already known to us. The source of the art taste of the Pre-Raphaelites was classical painting, which at the same time was the landmark of the pictorialists. Pre-Raphaelite artists created pictorial photography and vice versa. In addition, the two movements united the names of the same art innovators. During the 20th century, photographic equipment improved and the artistic possibilities in photography increased. With the development of computer technology and the internet, analog cameras have been replaced by digital ones. It made it possible to instantly download images to a computer, process them using the latest technologies, transfer them over the network, and print them in any edition and size. Photography has become a part of digital art, and its possibilities started snowballing Thanks to the modernization of cameras, the development of editing programs, and powerful output devices, humanity got the opportunity to share impressions and give them an artistic character while maintaining clarity. Moments of the surrounding world can now remain in history with greater realism while preserving the shade of the artist's impression. Digital art today is at the beginning of its development, reflecting the incredible transformation of people's lives and the opportunities that have opened up in the new digital era. It is developing along with cinematography, computer games, photography, 3D technologies, and independently. Art specialists often call it dual-directed. It is aimed at creating a specific art object or exploring new possibilities of the technology. In the second case, technology is the goal itself. Artists explore its potential. Sometimes both options complement each other. We already know that this synchronicity of creation and learning is an integral feature of the entire history of the development of art. By getting to know the tool and its possibilities, discovering new tools, and becoming innovators, artists allow art to evolve. Modern digital art has absorbed the knowledge gained by humankind on a journey of millennia. Not only artistic, but also scientific. The possibilities of creative tools today are almost endless. With the help of one program, you can create a three-dimensional world and its characters by combining the power of several applications. Virtual reality. Our new ability to express ourselves digitally is true magic, with only one exception. The source of this magic is knowledge. One of today's outstanding achievements is that we already have artificial intelligence that can create artistic images for us when we just need to prompt it. The information and digital technologies era provides people with incredible opportunities. We can admire any art object at any time and learn how to create it. All of this at our fingertips. The freedom allows art history to form here and now. Art is born from inspiration and becomes it. While it results from changes, it stimulates us to change further. So, let's stop and ask, who do we want to become? What do we want to look like if seen from the future? The evolution of art may lead us further to incredible transformations and discoveries that can positively influence our way of life and thoughts. It can help us correct the mistakes of the past, save the most important, and change the world around us for the best.